Radio Planet presents Keeping Our Blue Marble Clean, the podcast brought to you by students and for the students. My name is Travis Goss. I'm a first year freshman at NYIT, and I'm an electrical and computer engineering undergrad. And my fellow classmates are going to introduce themselves in a little bit, but we all share a similar concern with our environment, and we're here and we want to welcome you to our podcast.
Hey everybody, my name is Zheng. My topic is on global warming. So as you all know, every year the Earth is getting warmer and warmer. Global warming is starting to become a major problem in the recent years. The Earth has been getting warmer every year. It's been getting to a point where it's becoming a bit too hot for the Earth. As a result, the glaciers are melting and destroying animal habitats. That isn't all. The melting of the glaciers has also caused the sea levels to rise a few inches. You might be thinking that a few inches isn't so bad, considering the fact that the ocean covers 71% of the Earth's surface. The result of the rising sea levels can be disastrous. Global warming is a real thing, and if we don't do anything about it, we are going to have a rude awakening very soon. And all heard like global warming throughout our life, whether it was recently or when we were kids. I've seen some articles online where they were like the amount of damage cost was around $1 billion for flooding that was caused by global warming. And global warming also uh, or the carbon emission for that is slowly eating away our ozone layer that is protecting us from the sun's UV rays. Without the ozone layer, the Earth would become inhabitable.
I'm Linjie. My topic is about plastic pollution. I call the pollution of plastics a particle crisis, which depends on their inability to degrade. Another situation is the microplastics produced after decomposition, with the discharge of water bodies, causing harm to various aquatic animals. They have a high specific surface and are easy to absorb heavy metals and organic pollutants in the environment. Once they are absorbed by microplastics, once they enter the food chain cycle, they are very harmful. Having said that, I believe you are most concerned about the impact on human beings. At present, the research on it toxicology mostly focuses on fish and invertebrates, while the research on human beings is less, but the joint toxicology effect of microplastics and compound proteins cannot be ignored. Many countries have implemented plastic bans, and campaigns also take action. Like Starbucks use paper straws, although the taste is unpleasant. We have to face it. Modern people cannot live without plastic. Perhaps more and more people have noticed the harm of disposable, non-degradable plastics. But what kind of environment-friendly materials should be used to replace them? And I think it's still a real problem.
Oh, hey everyone, my name is Carolina Flores. I am a first year architecture major, and I also share everybody's passion with like the planet and making sure that we do things right from now on and like fix the mistakes of the past. Because we're all different majors, and using our different knowledge, we can like come up with ideas like our generation. And my topic is water scarcity in the world. Like it seems like we have like a whole lot of water because when you look at like a map, it's like 70% of water, but only 3% of that water is fresh water that we consume. And even that 3% is a lot, but some people like can't obtain that water. It's like far away, or it's like um dirty, and that's not safe for humans and their health, and mainly children, because it could just cause a lot of like mental problems. And it's like mostly in sub-Saharan Africa, and like you kind of feel like people mostly say in Africa, in like those countries, but it's also like in the United States, like in California, some people have to just like go searching for water in like mines, like an old mine in West Virginia. People also struggle with that a lot because it's not something people talk about. Like it's not like acknowledged, and so that's something that we need to put out there, that there are actually people in the U.S. who don't have clean water, and um yeah, and then there's like some little kinds of things that we can do as like individuals, like taking shorter showers, um, like turning off the water, like not using as much water as we need, like only what we need really, because so much is just like used up. That so we need to just be more conscious about things. Yeah.
I know when I was younger, I certainly, was taught to, shut off the lights when I'm not in the room, or, you know, uh, you know, shut off the water when, I'm brushing my teeth rather than leaving it running, stuff like that. You know, it seems like, a long shot when talking about, you know, you know, overall Earth sustainability, and that's something I'm going to get into in a little bit. But just, you know, making sure that you're smart with the way that you go about, everyday life. So leaving the lights on, that causes, light pollution, and, also, the water situations, we don't have much of it left. Although, 71% of the, the earth is made up of water, as Zhang said, um, that water is not, clean drinking water, and, that's not like, suitable for us, but it might be suitable for other people. But, we don't want to continue to pollute those big bodies of water, and with recent oil spills in the recent years, and also you know uh, we can even talk about um, you know just like garbage getting into the ocean and stuff and affecting the wildlife. You're messing up ecosystems, and therefore you're messing up the water, and also if the temperatures get too hot, you're certainly going to see an increase in the water levels. um, I'm going to get into a little bit about Earth sustainability. And, as you know, the Earth faces a lot of challenges, with climate change and water scarcity, and, finding renewable energy, and, trying not to use up a lot of the non-renewable energy, and, like non-renewable resources and stuff like that. You know, each and every day is a struggle. The day to days are it's getting worse and worse as the days progress. And in the eyes of many, including my fellow classmates, something really needs to be done. An attempt needs to be made to fix the damage that we've already dealt. And it's it can't be reversed, but it can certainly be you know taken down. It can be analyzed, how much pollution, we put out into the earth yearly, and we can try and drive down those numbers, but we can't do that until we further research, these certain, areas of expertise, and these other challenges that we might not necessarily be pinpointing right now, because they might just be hidden. For years we've tried taking action by implementing systems into schools like recycling programs, and even stuff like Earth Day, but you know Earth Day back then is a lot different than Earth Day now. We have the technology and the capability to reach out to the masses and multiple groups of people who might also share similar passion for helping drive down pollution or the global climate, like, or just emissions that we're putting into the air each and every day. But we just need to take the technology and make it even more available to the masses. We need to you know talk about it. We need to have discussions about the past and how history might repeat itself if we don't continue to keep on top of it or take action. And but no matter what we do, in the grand scheme of things, nothing is ever done. And which is why I believe myself that the government and the people of the world need to be more cautious, not only cautious but more educated about the topics at hand. And yes, the Earth can be habitable for up to 1.2 billion years, but do you want to live in a crappy place for the rest of your life, or do you want to make sure that you preserve this space that you're inhabiting for a numerous amount of years? I think we definitely want to live on that cleaner side, the greener side.
Yeah, I want to add, like what you said, people not being educated, like the people who make the laws, they should like educate themselves so they can implement things, because they're the ones who can actually, like force people to do things with the laws. Like people are dumping like bad things into the water that is clean, and since like I said before, we don't have like that much fresh water. If it's getting all like contaminated, because they're just like there's not enough laws saying don't do these certain actions that can harm the planet. Um, and like so much water, like I said, is like wasted into things. Like how much do you guys think like a burger, like how many gallons a burger would take of water to make?
Probably a lot. I can't imagine a
Yeah,
number on it.
I think quite a few amount.
It's like a pound of beef takes 1,700 gallons of water, because like they have
Wow.
to like feed the cows and then irrigate the grass to feed the cows, and then it's just more water and like everything. So it takes some things people aren't very conscious about when they do things. So that's something people have to think about.
Yeah, you don't even have to think about the food items being made and how much water is wasted into that. You could also think
Yeah.
about how much water is wasted after dishwashers, how much water they use to wash your dishes rather than hand washing them and scrubbing them, and like putting in the labor and the intensity in order to do something that you know a machine is able to do nowadays. But you're wasting a lot less water, and you can definitely control the amount of water you use compared to a a dishwasher that has like a specific amount of water being used in its succession each time you use it.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
definitely agree that we should be more cautious of the amount of water we use. Every day we be wasting water that we're not aware of. Like for example, taking a shower or brushing your teeth. Sometimes people just have the water running.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all these statements. And I feel like this all kind of comes back to how we need to start implementing renewable energy and how we can kind of clean up our acts on this earth. For example, a survey was taken in 2019, and 67% of Americans think that their government isn't doing enough to implement renewable energy and kind of start saving the environment. So that kind of puts into perspective that people believe that nothing's really getting done. But at the same time, these people don't know how much water it takes to manufacture a pound of beef, for example, that we were talking about earlier. So it's kind of like misinformation, misconnection with everything. My name's James O'Brien. I'm in the architecture program, and my section is going to be on kind of the renewable energy. And just for the United States alone, it would take actually $4.5 trillion to convert us to 100% renewable energy. And that starts to kind of make you think that it's never going to happen, that it's kind of like out of retrospective and that it's very far away. But in actuality, we have been taking smaller steps to get there. And one example I'd like to focus on is New York City itself. Now, New York City actually has this plan in 2030 to be 100% renewable, and we're about 30% there. So it's not too far out of reach yet. Many people actually wouldn't know this, but New York City waste is so accumulative over time that they actually have to ship out their garbages to other states, such as like Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida. Like they have to ship it out towards the middle of the United States because they can't deal with the overflow of garbage and it has to go to other dumps. Now, obviously, this doesn't sound good, dumping your garbage in other places. So New York City has been trying to actually start using this garbage to make renewable energy by kind of burning it and filtering these chemicals. They can actually start to power buildings and portions of the city off of it, which I think was actually very neat. Also, looking more into it, the actual renewable energy saves us a little bit of money. It costs about 10 cents to pay for kilowatts an hour for fossil fuel energy, but it actually goes down to 5 cents for renewable energy. So we start to save a little bit of money because we're not actually burning these fuels. This electricity is coming from kind of like garbage plants, or if we're not going to talk about garbage plants, we could also think about kind of like the windmills and the solar panels and that part. And when you start to think of like windmills and solar panels, that can start to be more affordable in like the middle class economy. You start to have Elon Musk, for example, having these solar paneled roofs that are more affordable, and people can start buying and actually building their house with these solar panels integrated. And that starts to save a lot of money in the community, and also like mini windmills on top of like factories, commercial buildings. These could start to be smaller ways to save our environment.
It doesn't have to be huge attempts in, saving the environment. It just has to be, groups of people taking action. One person recycling, or one family on their block recycling, plastics or paper or whatever they might be recycling. Just one family doing that out of 100 families on the cul-de-sac, or wherever you might live, depending on the area, that you know it adds up. You want to see big numbers put up, a lot of you know great numbers
Yeah,
to
I feel like
drive down the
the smaller kind of implementations of renewable energy that we do adds up to a bigger portion. And when we start to add up bigger and bigger, we can start to actually think about New York City becoming fully renewable in 2030. And that's only 9 years away. So I think these smaller steps lead to bigger changes.
Speaking of 2030, a lot of scientists are actually saying from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that by 24, that if humans don't take a collective action to limit the global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2040, the consequences are going to be effectively baked into the natural systems of the planet. Like Zheng was saying earlier about the ozone layer, that is certainly something that is at risk if we don't drive down our emissions and, do something about it. And, I know everybody, says, renewable and non-renewable energies, and the resources that we buy, it might be a little more expensive, putting solar panels on your home compared to um, you know using any other way of obtaining electricity and be able to run your house. So people are investing nowadays. So they say that um, you know in years time, the best investment that you could probably make right now would be a Tesla. They're starting to implement the charging stations at gas stations, and when you think about it, you're paying a lot more money for a a safe car but also at the same time, you're also limiting your emissions that you're putting into the air by driving that car to and from work or where you might be going. So you know Tesla is on the rise, and certainly they're trying to do other things like put human life on Mars and stuff like that. Things that we couldn't even think of years ago, and now all of a sudden it's it's a reality.
Yeah, I can agree with that, but it starts to make you think like, yeah, the Tesla cars are saving energy because they're fully electric, but like how are they produced? They're produced in these factories where they're kind of using not renewable energy to make it. But that's only for right now. I think in the future, Tesla as a company wants their factories to start to be renewable and to actually produce clean energy when making these cars.
Yeah, they're trying to veer toward the zero emission game.
Yeah,
A lot of
exactly.
car companies that put out these big cars are, like production lines. They're wasting a lot of and polluting a lot of the air and just everything.
I agree with Travis because the change doesn't have to be big. The beginning doesn't have to be big, but slowly as everyone starts doing it, it could build up, like James says.
Like yeah, you've seen the past year, even with the COVID pandemic, start wearing a mask. Everybody's wearing masks. What if there was a pandemic about the earth finally, you know, being crushed and destroyed and
Yeah,
melting from the inside out? I bet people would be a lot more cautious whether they decide to throw stuff out of their car on the highway or, you know, whether they decide to walk an extra 2 feet to the garbage can. You know,
exactly.
it will make a difference, but we just need to educate the people, kind of like how we educated people about COVID and how, symptoms, what you should look out for. We should start telling people, this is what you got to look out for. You got
Hmm.
to start doing this in order to, get what you want, because you want to make the future better and brighter for future generations, but we're not doing that right now. We're continuously polluting the earth, and that's not it's not helping us.
My name is Allison. I'm a first year freshman, and I wanted to talk about like how like climate change has affected the weather, and I do want to carry off on like how the little things do count. Like I feel like as time has gone on, I feel like when I was younger, I do remember hearing about those little things that help like recycling, and I feel like as time has gone on and technology has advanced, we've been forgetting about these, the small things, and we've been focusing on the big things and like the technology. At what cost does it help us out? Like you said with the factories and whatnot. But yeah, climate change has definitely impacted weather for sure. We're getting like weather in places that we usually don't see that. For example, like down south, we're getting like huge snowstorms and we're getting even huger hurricanes, and the wildfire situation and droughts in like for example California are crazy. I feel like global warming has definitely impacted that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with kind of what you're saying. I think the weather changes is a big kind of sign that we should start taking things a little bit more seriously. And I think renewable energy has a big part in that, and also like kind of cleaning up the earth, just like watching what we're doing all the time.
Right. I feel like this is like one of like the major signs that it is so showing that it is like actually harming the earth. And I feel like once people see like the effects of how that affects their life, they're gonna start trying to make change. Maybe it's not too late, but obviously it could have been done before.
Yeah, yeah, like I believe in Texas, they came out with a plan or something for future snowstorms or future action that needs to be taken whenever something bad like what happened. I think it was like 10 or 15 years ago. They had like a bad snowstorm and they put in a plan and a way to go about not having the same issues that they had, and yet Texas still didn't do what they were, planned on doing, and it caused them, to have, that had.
I feel like they could have definitely like obviously planned that out better, but also there could have been ways to prevent that because I feel like if we hadn't gotten to a point where global warming was this bad, that they wouldn't even have to deal with that type of weather and just like deal with like the normal Texas weather and not snowstorms down south.
Yeah, we don't even have to talk about down south. We can talk about everywhere,
Yeah, for sure.
like I know this isn't really, conventional, but I'm going to talk about, Snapchat memories. My friend had a memory on his phone the other day of, I think it was a year ago today. It was actually yesterday. It was snowing a year ago today.
Right, so like the seasons are definitely like changing here. Like there's never like steady weather as there like used to be a couple decades ago.
Yeah, you saw it earlier in the year. We had some hot spots, definitely higher temperatures than we were expecting. And, those beautiful days that, came after the rain and the storms. And it's just, it's just weird to get, an 80-degree weather, March,
Yeah, in the middle of
it's not
winter.
common, you know.
I want to say like maybe people aren't scared enough. Like all these things, they just like put it to the side. Like the weather is getting warmer. Okay, it's not because they're doing anything wrong. Like they should be more scared about it. Like hearing about all these wildfires and storms and tornadoes, people should question like why is this happening? Is there something I could do to stop it? So they should just be more scared. Maybe like having like commercials on TV
Yeah, I
telling
feel that
people.
since it's not like directly impacted, like like themselves and their family, they're not like impacted by all these environmental changes. I feel that it's like Corona, where at the start of Corona, no one wanted to wear a mask, and now everyone's wearing a mask because of the result that it brought.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely get behind that,
Yeah, I definitely think it has to do generation wise too. These older generations, they don't really have like too much motivation behind kind of like this climate change crisis or renewable energy. And it's kind of left up to us, the younger generation, to kind of actually start being a little bit more serious about this and like taking action. And it kind of just shows like the big difference in time gap because back then people didn't really care about like when they threw the garbage out, they don't care where it's going, they're not thinking about like the CO2 emissions of that or anything else. And this generation's a little bit more woke about it and kind of taking it into consideration.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of our segment, but we do have one more special segment for you guys. We do have a Q&A, and we're going to run through a couple questions that were asked of us. And yeah, so James, take it away.
Okay, so our first question comes from kind of the main class itself. Someone asked, who is in a position to prioritize the problems and take authoritative action?
So I think this question is kind of asking, who can make the change and who's in the position to prioritize the problems and like exactly what it's asking. Who's in the position to prioritize problems and who's there to take the authoritative action? I think the government's there to take the authoritative action, but I think we are sort of in the position to prioritize because the people have, a good say, and I feel like if we can advertise, a healthier way of living, and that won't sacrifice, people's way of living nowadays. I feel like that would definitely be a great way of going about making change. I feel like you know you got to do it in numbers if you're gonna do anything at all. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel that the government should take some responsibility, but we, the people, should also put this matter in our own hand and start doing these type of things to save the planet.
Yeah, the community definitely gets the ball rolling, and I feel like it's a good balance between government and public. I mean, the government's not going to do anything unless the public makes it the priority. And once it's a priority, we have to keep it going. We can't just for 1 year straight be like, oh, we need you to change this. And then after that year, not say anymore. Like it needs to keep going. We can't just stop because we feel like we're giving up. We can't stop because we feel like the government's not doing anything. And if we keep it going, eventually something's going to happen. And I feel like small things are happening. Like, for example, New York City's goal for 2030, that's like something that the public really got the government involved with. And they wanted this city to start to be more sustainable, and it's taking steps to get there.
Yeah, like they have to know, like the government has to know that this is what the people want. Because I feel like we haven't like put it out there that much that this is something like we need to do. This is something that we want, like you were saying before, like as numbers, we need to show that like a majority of people want this as a priority to make change with like the climate. Like bottled waters, like the plastic from the bottles are like so horrible for the environment, and people keep buying and buying and buying. So that's why manufacturers keep making them. So maybe if we like as people buy less water bottles and use more like from like the fridge, like tap water, then it'll be better.
Okay, I think we should go to question 2 now. If somebody wants to read out question 2.
Yeah, I'll read it. It says, if we have been aware of these problems for all these years and still have not taken action, then what type of structural reform are necessary?
I definitely think that the older generations, they weren't really kind of looking into this too much. They weren't caring too much about their environment. They weren't thinking where certain things go, such as like water waste and garbage and CO2 emissions. And for that stuff to change, I think it really takes more of kind of like a government dictatorship and like enforcing these laws. Not like a dictatorship, but like they need to enforce laws to kind of prevent like waste dumping in the Hudson River, for example. Back in like 1930s and on, people just used to dump their garbage in the Hudson River, and the government kind of stepped in and was like, hey, like let's not do that, because that's definitely not good for the environment. And it just takes things like that, like over years. I think we have to learn from our mistakes and do better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the rest of the class or people around the world have this, but in like near my community, they started to remove plastic bags and started giving us paper bags instead, or like they tell you to bring your own bag instead of giving you a plastic one.
Yeah, definitely, where I live, they tell us to bring reusable bags, and if you don't, you're charged, I believe it's 10 cents per bag.
Yeah, they start
So
charging you now if
they
you
start
want a
charging you
bag.
now, and people definitely don't want that to, be added onto their total. They're already spending so much money on groceries, an extra dollar or two, people, get a little, frustrated about that. It's definitely something that, I think, has definitely been pushed aside. We've had reusable bags for so long, and it's just kind of, if you think about it, it's it's I'm blanking on the word. It's I don't know. It's just like a common courtesy to bring a reusable bag, and I think that if it doesn't directly affect people, or like if like what Zhang was saying earlier, if it doesn't directly affect people, I feel like people don't take action, or or want to take action, because it doesn't affect them. But we see it happening in all these communities now. People are being charged for plastic bags, or everything. So I think definitely it's a generational reform that kind of needs to be put into place. It needs to be a generational movement. You know the older generations, they were careless with the way that they polluted the earth, and left it in our hands. But I feel like this is kind of our calling. We need to kind of save the earth, because we've been informed about it as we've grown up. The recycling programs and stuff like that.
How do we as a generation go about trying to make a change? I definitely think that we should use that technology to our advantage, and for example, like social media, spread the word and like take charge. As I feel like we are doing a good job for the most part, but we could do a lot more.
Yeah, it kind of shows like the power of social media. For example, a couple years ago when we were like save the turtles and stuff, it actually pushed like Starbucks and like Dunkin' Donuts to start using like more paper straws at their facilities and even using like lids with no straws and like little things like that kind of really push forward these environmental changes, which works in the end.
Yeah, I don't know many, fast food restaurants around me that use, plastic straws anymore. It's kind of been, taken out of the picture, the paper straws. And also, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but on the cans, how they used to be wrapped in the like, the top of the cans. I forget
Yeah, I
what those
know
things
what
are
you're talking
called.
about.
Like the way that the cans attach to one another, it's like a little net almost. And, I used to see photos of like turtles being choked by that, or like it being like literally just like through their heads, and like just it just like takes out like wildlife that lives in the ocean whenever it's polluted. But I know that those cans are no longer being sold like that, and they are being put into little miniature boxes rather than continuing to go forward with that plastic rack type look to it. And also that it's very dangerous when you throw that in the ocean. Get fish caught in that, and it's not good.
Yeah, I definitely agree with social media as it's something everyone's using right now. And we can make a change by just posting things about the environment, like how we can save it, how we can save electricity, and yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of all ties back to like the windmills I talked about earlier and kind of like these solar panels. I think the younger generation would implement this technology into their future homes because they're wanting to take these steps closer to renewable energy.
Yeah, I see it a lot with the houses around me. I know, they're my fellow classmates in on the podcast. They're on the architecture side of things, but I see a lot of, big companies, a lot of real estate companies, making deals with solar panel companies and implementing those into their builds and their houses, and it's almost seamlessly like implemented into the house, and it honestly looks really good. And honestly, if that's the way that our future is going, and that's the way that prices are going to be, that's the way that the economy is going to like work, and that's how you know we're going to be supplied energy. And I know some people even they hoard the energy that they make with the solar panels, and they could even sell it back to companies. And that's big, that's return on income, or not even that. That's an extra $2,000 that you might get from selling energy that you've accumulated in your solar panels, and went to storage over the past year and a half. I've heard about programs like that.
Thank you for listening to a Radio Planet Presents production, Keeping Our Blue Marble Clean. We have gone over many topics. Myself, James O'Brien, went over the renewable energy section.
Hi, Carolina. I went over the water scarcity topic.
My name is Zheng. I went over the global warming aspect.
I'm Linjie. My topic is about plastic pollution.
My name is Allison, and I went over the weather topic.
My name is Travis, and I went over the overall Earth sustainability and challenges that we face.
Thank you for listening to a Radio Planet Presents original.